Hey guys, welcome to Mikey's Video Game Madness. Usually you see video game footage by now and not me. I know sometimes you see me on my live streams, but this is somewhat rare. I was thinking about doing an end of the year video where I do the top 10 best games of the year, but the truth is a lot of good games are still coming out this year that aren't even out yet, and I have a lot of good games, or I think that'll be good games, that I just haven't had enough time to play. So instead of trying to guess what's going to be good based on a few hours that I played of it, I figured that I would maybe do a buying list for yourself or somebody else. If you don't celebrate the holidays, this can be a guide to just what games to buy. Or if you don't know much about video games and you trust me for whatever twisted reason, thank you, but if you trust me, I'll pick out 10 games that I think are my favorite games that I've played so far this year that maybe you might consider putting on a shopping list for yourself or somebody else. Maybe you'll get money as a gift or something and then you can get it for yourself, or maybe you're alone and you have money. Let me list every single scenario possible. But anyway, this is a list of 10 games that I think are great, and I'll list them in the order from, none of them are my least favorite, but I'll list them from like the ones that I enjoyed and the ones that I enjoyed to the ones that I enjoyed the most. Sorry. That's what happens when you try to ad-lib this shit. Anyway, without further ado, let's get this list started. So cue whatever I decide to cue this with. Now. Yeah, now. For number 10, I picked Shovel Knight. It even has its own little plastic amiibo figure that I've been tempted to get, even though I only own like 4 amiibos. Like, I collect the ones from my favorite series. I leave them in a box because I have no way of using them, and I kind of like the figures too much to take them out of the box, and I'm not really one of those people. Okay, off task. Shovel Knight's a love letter to anyone who grew up during the NES, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo era. It's especially emulates the NES, but even if you grew up on the Commodore 64 or played the Commodore 64 and like platformers or anything of that genre, are like anything that played on any of those systems of that age, whether it was on the Master System or whatever, it's a love letter. And if you're younger and you want to know what games were like back then when us old folks used to play them, gosh, I'm talking about myself as being old now. It's so hard. But yeah, it's a great platformer, but you have to like platformer. Some people are just not into platformers, and I get it, but if you are, this is great. It's like Castlevania, Mega Man, the old Capcom Disney games like Chip 'n Dale, Rescue Rangers, DuckTales. It has all that blended into one great game. If you're able to get a physical copy, I highly recommend it. You have a downloadable key to get a soundtrack, which you might be saying, oh, it's a downloadable key, what am I supposed to do with that? Listen to it through my PC all day? I don't know why you have Lisp. I don't know, I didn't look at your medical files. But anyway, yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably have a PC. If you have a PC, you probably have a DVD burner. You can probably burn it to a disc, but it's great. But the coolest thing about the physical version of Shovel Knight, not only because it's physical, every single version of Shovel Knight comes with a super thick colored manual, which is almost worth the $20 alone, or whatever it costs. It's probably cheaper now than the actual game, if you ask me, because I haven't seen a fucking colored manual in so long. I was just so excited just to open up the manual and look at it like the old days, and look at the pixelated graphics, and then open the book and look at the book and be like, that's what those pixelated graphics are supposed to represent. Obviously, you might be able to tell I love Shovel Knight. It's an excellent platform. It has an excellent soundtrack. I love the overworld map that reminds me of the Super Mario Brothers 3 and Super Mario World and whatever other Super Mario games, whatever 8-bit, 16-bit games that have overworld. Anyway, I can't recommend this game enough. Number 10, Shovel Knight. You can get it digitally, but I would definitely recommend getting a physical copy. But I will say the physical copies were in limited number, so don't wait forever. But if you're happy with digital copies or Steam sale or whatever, and you want to be a drag, go ahead and do that. No, just play Shovel Knight whatever way you can. I highly recommend it. Can't say enough good stuff about it. Check it out. Alright, so for number 9, I picked Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation 4. So this is based on the movie that I've never seen. Heard it was pretty terrible. Probably because it follows the game exactly. Like, I imagine if you play the game, you know exactly what's going to happen in the movie. But I doubt it's terrible if you're like 9 years old or 6 years old or whatever. But the game is flippin' amazing. By circumstance, I don't know what circumstance it was, but I happened to play Ratchet and Clank, the original PlayStation 2 game, on the Ratchet and Clank collection or trilogy or whatever the compilation on PlayStation 3 was called. I replayed the original Ratchet and Clank, which I really liked back in the day and own on the PlayStation 2, but I wanted the 720p HD graphics, which sounds really silly now at a time where 4K is the thing. But I played that and absolutely adored it, and I was like, oh, they're remaking Ratchet and Clank. My biggest fear was that they were just going to make the same game with prettier graphics, and they kind of did, and they kind of didn't. The first thing that tipped me off that it might be the same game is that it was $40 for a brand new game by Insomniac. These are the people that made Resistance Fallen Man, obviously the Ratchet and Clank series, and Sunset Overdrive, which is one of those games on Xbox One that I would pick up as one of my first titles if I had an Xbox One. Feel free to donate, but make sure it's the S version so I can play 4K Blu-rays, not to be picky or anything. But this is Insomniac, great developer. I can't wait till that Spider-Man game comes out. But I was like $40 for a first-party PlayStation 4 game. Like, what's the deal here? There has to be a catch. So I played it. It had cutscenes from the movie in the game. A lot of the voice actors from the movie are in the game. The only one I know offhand is Rosario Dawson because she was in Sin City and Clerks 2, and I don't know who the other people are. She's just been in a lot of shit. That's the only reason why I can recognize her voice. Also, the second Men in Black movie, which was horrible, but I remember her being in it. Don't watch the second Men in Black movie if you wanna, I don't know, remember the first one as being a good movie. I just realized I was telling you what to do. And I just realized, again, I'm sort of telling you what to do by suggesting all these games. I apologize. Not trying to be a control freak here. But anyway, back on the game. So, $40 for a premium PlayStation title. I was like, there has to be some sort of catch to this. But then I played it. What's cool about this game is that it takes sections of the original game and puts it in parts of the level, and then makes a whole unique part of the level and adds a little section, so it kind of reminds you of what you did in the original game, or if you watch the movie, since the movie follows the original game, you kind of know where you are, so things feel familiar and different at the same time, and the game is absolutely beautiful. This game also supports the PlayStation Pro. I don't have a PlayStation Pro, but I heard it looks fantastic, and it looks fantastic on the regular PlayStation, so I imagine it freaking probably makes every orifice of your body bleed from the amazing graphics that it probably has, because this is probably one of the, if not the best looking PlayStation 4 game I've personally seen. But it's stylized as in it looks like a Pixar movie. The gameplay is on point. It looks like a kid's game. It's a family game. It's made for kids that are young, and it's made for adults as well. There's humor for adults, and the difficulty spikes up a little bit high, so if you have kids, maybe your kid will want you to get past a certain part or whatever. It's a good game, I would think. I don't have kids, but I would think it'd be fun to play. Like if you had like a daughter or a son and you guys could pass the controller back and forth. I love Ratchet and Clank. I always have. I think it's a great series. It's a premium game. The last time I saw it, it's $20. You can't go wrong. It's the best way to make a reboot of the game. Add a little bit of familiar stuff and then add a bunch of new stuff. Put extra polish on it. It's a fantastic game. I can't recommend it enough. Number 9, Ratchet and Clank. If you buy it, enjoy. For number 8, I chose Battlefield 1. This game is absolutely gorgeous, and not only is it gorgeous, it goes back into World War I, which is pretty odd choice considering that most first-person shooters nowadays take place in the future, which I don't mind if they're done well. But it's nice to go back to the bolt action rifles and stuff like that, and a game based on such a horrible, nasty, disgusting, bloody war. How can it look so good? It's beyond me, but it's absolutely fantastic. Now, there's something I have to say. If you're getting this just straight for the campaign, I definitely hold off. The campaign is so short and it almost feels like a demo. Now, I'm not trying to take away from the campaign because it is fun while it lasts for the few hours that it does, but it's over before you know it. But you don't really get to see all the features. Some things don't even control the way they do in multiplayer. Like the flying levels control more like Star Wars Battlefront planes, or super. Well, none of them are sims even in multiplayer, but the flying levels control like Star Wars Battlefront, where it's a third-person view. You can't even go to first-person view like you could in Star Wars Battlefront, and you can't like strafe left to right. I forgot what the proper term for flying is because I'm trying to do this off the cuff, but yeah, it gives you a good idea. The story is really compelling as far as the characters go, but right when you get interested and invested in all these characters, the story ends. And some of these stories, like if you play them through all the way, if you're lucky, they'll last you 90 minutes per story. There's about, I'd say, 5 stories. Some of them are shorter than others, but the longest one is probably like 90 minutes. The reason why I picked this is because I'm not a multiplayer person. I'll be the first to admit I'm terrible on it. You can look at this footage and see how terrible I'm on it. But I'm more terrible than usual because I haven't played this in a while, because I've been playing all sorts of different games, especially to make this video. I was trying to get the footage for every single game. And I was playing Call of Duty, which has a different kind of physics and control scheme. I don't know. It's just Battlefield requires different kind of gameplay skills. I always feel like Battlefield's one of those games that you don't get good until you played it for at least 2 to 3 hours. And if you take a break within a week or two, you like automatically lose all your skills. At least that's what it is for me. But once you get going and you pick a class that you're really good at, like my favorite class is medic, and you work as a team, like the multiplayer is fantastic. And I'm not a huge multiplayer fan, but that's what you want to get Battlefield 1 for, in my opinion. I feel like if you're paying $60 for just the campaign, I have a feeling there's a good chance you might have a little bit of buyer's remorse. I kind of wish DICE would outsource their single-player campaigns to another company that could just focus on that and make a campaign that's at least as long as your average first-person shooter, and that's typically like 6 hours, but to be able to finish everything in less than 4 hours and have very little reason to play it, because there's a lot of cutscenes in the middle of the campaign too, so the gameplay's even chopped up the smaller segments, so a lot of the time that you're spending isn't even in gameplay that I'm counting, it's watching cutscenes. So that was a missed opportunity, because that's a war that I would like to see covered more in games. There was a game called Valiant Hearts, I believe the name of it. It was a 2D game based on World War I, and that was a strictly story-based. It was a platformer, and it had its own unique style and whatever, but it was heavily story-based, and you really felt for the characters, and the whole story was told in a decent amount of time. Nothing was truncated or rushed, and you really felt for the characters by the end. Like, by the time I was done with all the missions, I didn't really care about any of the characters because I didn't spend enough time with them. If they would have put a few more missions in there and let me experiment with the gunplay, the campaign would have been amazing. And the time that I spent with the campaign, I had a blast, but it was over before I knew it. But the multiplayer is where you're going to get your value, and if you're into multiplayer, I can't recommend Battlefield 1 enough. That's my favorite game that has multiplayer that's on this list. If Battlefield 1 just had the campaign, it probably wouldn't even made this list. So the multiplayer is where it's at. You have Scout, you have Assault, you have Support, and then you have a Medic. I love the Medic because not only do you get a bolt action rifle, which I actually prefer in these types of games. Call me old-fashioned. That was a really bad joke. But I like the fact that I'm behind the people that are really good at playing the games, and I can help support them take over something, and it's just really rewarding. You kind of find out what you're best at. Support's also a fun class. You let the people that are really good at the game play Assault and Scout, because with Scout, with the sniper rifle, you got to kind of account for bullet drop and stuff like that, and you have to play as a sniper for at least a little while, or be used to these sorts of games to be able to calculate all that stuff. And I just haven't played Battlefield long enough to be really good with skilled players. This game also supports the PlayStation Pro. From what I hear, the multiplayer works really well, a lot better than the base PlayStation 4, which is really good because there are some frame rate drops, not to the point that it's unplayable, but there's times where I've had the frame rate drop where I was like, man, if this was a little bit steadier, I could have gotten that guy, or I could have gotten away in time and stuff like that. Or sometimes the frame will kind of slow down a little bit and you kind of get disoriented, you know. So a better frame rate and a first-person shooter that's fast-paced is more than welcome. But I have not personally played it on a PlayStation 4 Pro because I don't have one, but I heard it improves the graphics obviously a little bit. Not to the point where it looks like the PC on Ultra, but I don't think anybody's expecting that. But I heard the game actually runs better, which is welcome, and significantly better because there are some frame drops. But yeah, Battlefield's number 8, but I caution you to get it for the amazing multiplayer. If you're not in the multiplayer, I don't think Battlefield 1 is going to be the game for you. Number 7 is Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 has a really fun campaign. I would raise the difficulty up, although it depends how good you are at games. But I guess the normal difficulty is what they wanted you to play on. But, you know, I played it on the hard difficulty, and I don't normally play the games on hard. And the hard difficulty felt like the normal difficulty in most first-person shooters, but, you know, that's just my opinion. But yeah, it's a really fun campaign considering the original didn't have a campaign at all and it was an online only game. I was really worried that they were gonna throw together a campaign just to make everybody happy and have it kind of really short like Battlefield 1, because everybody complained about Battlefront not really having a campaign. So even though Battlefront 1's campaign for what it is really fun while it lasts, but they actually came out with like a first-person shooter, an average first-person shooter's length campaign that's actually quite fun, and it just has you really building a relationship with your Titan, which is basically a giant mechanical mech. Titanfall is made by some of the original people that worked on Call of Duty, so it feels exactly like Call of Duty. And when you're in a mech, it feels like Call of Duty, except everything gets a little bit smaller and you're in a big robot, and it's just really fun. It's a lot more schizophrenic and fast moving than Call of Duty, but it's really cool to explore some of the levels. The levels are really creative. There's some levels like you're in the factory and everything's rotating. Some people might be turned off by the wall jumping and double jumping and the futuristic stuff, but you know, it's just one of those things you're either gonna like or you're gonna hate. But I think it's great, and I think it's great that they built a campaign all around this. As far as the multiplayer goes, it's the same thing as the original Titanfall. I never played the original Titanfall on PC on Xbox One. I actually played the Xbox 360 version, which I heard is just as good, just the graphics weren't as nice. And basically, Titanfall 2 is kind of like that. You have a grappling hook this time. I didn't play the original Titanfall that much, but I don't remember having a grappling hook. And you can like swing around, and you have a robot that can, our Titan as they call it, or mech. But they call it Titan. But you can jump inside of it and ride along, or you can have it follow you and help protect you. And there's when you play multiplayer, there's enemies that aren't controlled by real people. They're like AI controlled to add more chaos, kind of like what they did in Star Wars Battlefront, where some of the spaceships were controlled by actual people and some of them were AI based. So the multiplayer is solid. But I really enjoyed the campaign for this, and that's why I got it. If Titanfall 2 only had multiplayer, I probably wouldn't have picked it up this time unless it was like $20 or something, because to me, like, the amount of multiplayer that you get in these kind of games, and as much as I played the original Titanfall, that was my justification. Like, if I didn't know anything about it, maybe I'd be prone to paying more if it was like a multiplayer game. But if I want a multiplayer only game, like, it has to be something I can really relate to, like Star Wars, or Tom Clancy's The Division was actually a really good, fun multiplayer experience, as well as Destiny, because it was really open and it's not like close and arena based. And with Battlefront, it's just Star Wars, and I like the ships and everything like that, and the atmosphere and the attention to detail. It was like being in the Lucasfilm archives and stuff like that. So I definitely have my reasons, but just based on the gameplay of how much time I spent in Titanfall 1, like, I wouldn't have been able to justify $60, but that campaign is just so good. And then you have the multiplayer to complement it. It's a solid package. Sorry, I don't know why I stuttered right there. It's a solid package, and it's definitely recommended. And I really like the relationship that they build with you and your mech, and I definitely recommend Titanfall 2 if you kind of wanted a campaign with Titanfall. Obviously, most of you probably already own Titanfall 2 if you just like the multiplayer of Titanfall 1, but if you're a newcomer or somebody who just plays console and happen to have a Sony platform and missed out on the original Titanfall, this is a way to go. And from what I hear, There's going to be free updates. They don't badger you to death with a bunch of like season passes and stuff like that. So I think like what they did with the original, you'll start to get maps for free and stuff, which is really cool. And it's just a really fun campaign. The campaign's a little bit short, but not that short, and it's a great solid package. Like I said, definitely check out Titanfall if what I said tickles your fancy, or you just want to try something with mechs, because obviously everybody knows you can't go wrong with giant robots that kill people, and tinier robots and other giant robots, and etc. Titanfall 2, a good game. That was number 7. Number 6, I chose Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. If you're wondering why the heck is he picking Call of Duty, because I feel like somebody needs to stick up for it. People have been really hard on this series, especially since it went to a futuristic route. I myself was somewhat disappointed that Call of Duty Black Ops didn't stay in the past and went forward with the future direction. I was hoping the next installment would go in the past. Now, as a game itself, I really did like Black Ops 3, and I thought it was a great game with a lot of content, and made my Game of the Year list last year, and was great for what it was. But Call of Duty Infinite Warfare does something that I've wanted in a science fiction first-person shooter forever. I think the last one that I played that did this on a console or system that I own, I know there's Star Citizen, but my computer would probably blow up if I tried playing that game. I don't think it's out yet, but I think there's been like betas and shit like that. Don't quote me. Anyway, and that looks more like a simulation type of game, where this is arcadey. But I think there was a game on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2 called Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter, which was a first-person shooter, but you could get in and out of your spaceship, and that's what this does. And then once you land your spaceship, you actually have like a map like you do on Mass Effect, and you can pick what planets or what missions you want to go on and complete. You can basically complete every single mission if you really want to. I think I missed one somehow, so maybe some choices prevent you from playing like a couple of missions. Depending on what missions you pick, your game's going to be pretty short or decent length. This is a decent length campaign, but the arcade flying is really fun. It's nothing too complicated. It's probably as complex as the Ace Combat game, which is fine with me. I happened to read a few comments in the comment section, and like skim through IGN or whatever just to see what they thought, and they were really hard on the game, and they suggested that they mentioned that there was only like a few times that you controlled your ship directly. That's bullshit. You control your ship directly, unless I read it wrong and I'm illiterate, and there's a good chance there's only like one rail shooting section that I even can remember in a ship. But you directly control your ship as much as you're on the ground. And this game took me by surprise. I was looking more forward to the remaster, a Modern Warfare, than I actually was Infinite Warfare. I was like, man, they're really desperate. They're trying to bundle this other game with it just so it sells, because I guess they don't think it's that good, and all these people downvoted it on like YouTube or whatever, like they did with the new Ghostbusters movie. Although the Ghostbusters movie didn't end up nearly as good as Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. They just had an auction on some website. I was about to tell you a website I didn't even know the name of. I was on ghostbustersfans.com, because that's what a big nerd I am, and they're selling props from the movie. Every prop that I clicked on, including like the really sophisticated props like that are part of their ghost capturing equipment, none of the props that I looked at were over $1,000, and these are things that were used in the film. So that's how well received that film was. Not a bad standalone movie if it was like on Sunday and you had nothing to do and you were in your drawers eating Cheetos or something, and the remote was like 10 feet away and you're too lazy to get it, then yeah, maybe watch it. I don't know. But yeah, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare did something that I really wanted, which was being able to play a really good first-person shooting game. The environments were varied. Nothing looked stagnant and similar all the time. They switched it up. As much as I liked Black Ops 3, I felt like the environments were really drab and looked quite similar. So I like how the game's always switching things up and you can play things in the order that you want it to. Something else surprising that I haven't felt in a long time, probably since the original Black Ops, is I actually cared about these characters, and that's incredibly rare. I usually are like, oh yeah, that sucks that they died. Alright, moving on, what do I gotta blow up next? But this time I actually cared about the characters and actually liked them, and as much as I want to see a Call of Duty game take place in the past, which I think that's what they're probably going to do in the next installment based on what I've been reading and all the hate that this game is unfairly getting basically from the predecessors before. But, you know, in my personal opinion, I've never played a Call of Duty game that I didn't like. I've just played average Call of Duty games at worst, but even the average ones to me are fun and functional. I always have a good time. But this is probably my favorite Call of Duty game since Black Ops, and that's saying a lot. I definitely recommend it. It also has zombie mode and multiplayer. I don't play Call of Duty games for multiplayer, so I can't tell you anything about that. I didn't try it. I did try the 80s theme zombie mode. It's standard zombie mode with the 80s theme on it, but I'm just basing this on the campaign, and I think this game is worth the campaign. So, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, if you don't want to listen to me, please at least just try it. Try it for yourself. Don't let somebody tell you it's good or bad if you want to go that route. Just try it for yourself. But if you want to listen to somebody beside the media or just hate mongers that are on YouTube just to say negative shit or get sponsored or whatever, if you don't want to listen to them, listen to the small guy. Listen to me. And Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is awesome, and it's the best Call of Duty, if you ask me, since Black Ops 1. As much as I would like to see a Call of Duty game based in the past that's modern, I wouldn't mind seeing this get a sequel as well. They have 3-year cycles, so maybe they could do a sequel to this after they do the one based in the past and then rotate. That sounds like a good system and adds variety, but, you know, I guess it depends how well it sells. So, yeah, I highly enjoyed Call of Duty Infinite Warfare's campaign. One of my favorite first-person shooter campaigns that I've played. So, I chose Doom for number 5. Doom is a game that I've been waiting for, gosh only knows how long. Probably since I played Doom 3. That was quite some time ago. When did Doom 3 come out? Like in 2003 or 4? One of those years. And it was more of a survival horror game. It was what people weren't really expecting from a Doom sequel, because Doom was all about frantic action. I think the modding community definitely kept the frantic action portion alive. A lot of people didn't like the survival horror. I absolutely love it. If id Software ever went back and made like a survival horror like franchise, like the way Doom 3 was structured, even though that had its fair share of action, but it was nowhere near the amount of action that Doom and Doom 2 had. So basically, when they went into making the fourth installment of Doom, which is now just called Doom, that's the new thing now. Call everything by its first name to make it super confusing, because apparently everybody forgot about the original game, even though it's on the BFG editions. But they showed the footage at QuakeCon, something I would never get invited to, because I'm not cool enough, apparently. Seriously, I'm not that cool. But they showed footage, and I heard and read how awesome it was, and all the shit about the glory kills where the person was on their knees and you just ripped them in half or whatever, and how gory it was, and how fluid the engine was, and how it was going to look so great even on consoles and run at 60 frames per second. I didn't get to see the footage for a year. And even before that, I heard that it was supposed to play more like Call of Duty in order to have more enemies on the screen. At one time, I guess this is when they were still planning to bring it out on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. They're going to lower the frame rate to 30 frames per second so they could have way more enemies on the screen at the time. And it was going to be like Doom 2 or Hell on Earth, which actually sounds like a really cool idea. And I hope they go with that now that they have more powerful hardware, with hopefully a sequel, even though a sequel is not announced. id Software takes quite some time to come out with their next game. That's just the way they are, but usually whatever they come out with is fantastic, so I only can complain but so much. But Doom came out and it blew away everybody's expectations in a world where we get a new first-person shooter, which I'm not complaining because I love the genre, but we get a lot of interchangeable first-person shooters that are only interchangeable by their weapons, their characters, and possibly their stories, although the stories end up quite being similar after a while. This took the formula and somehow mashed contemporary and retro at the same time. This game's all about action. You can't hide behind a wall and expect to survive and heal. You have health points. You can't, at least with most of your weapons, I think you have one sniper weapon. You can't aim with the iron sights, which I kind of personally like just because I like to see a more detailed version of the weapons. And you go around and you kill, and it's almost like a dance. That's what Doom feels like, is a dance, and it's action-packed, and it's just satisfying, and it's very cerebral. So unlike some of the more story-driven first-person shooters, not all of them, some you can replay over and over again, but some you play and you forget about it and you go on to the next thing. Since this is so cerebral, much like the original Doom, you can play it over and over and over again because it's so action-packed. It's like an arcade game that you keep on putting quarters in to play the first level over and over again because it's just fun and you just perfect the dance. And it's just, there's multiplayer in it, which is very classic multiplayer. I'm not a huge multiplayer guy. I'm just basing this on the campaign alone, which is fantastic. You actually can unlock older levels from the game. There's a lot of little unlockable things to find. And there's a lot of people out there which saying that there's no story, which is a misnomer. There is story. It's told through little holographic scenes. It's all in game. As far as the holographic scenes go, the game rarely ever pauses to let something happen. It's sort of like Half-Life, but there's also little PDAs and information that you collect as you go. So if you go to the menu screen and take the time to actually read, I know an action-packed game and reading don't really go together with some people, but you know, it's good to up those literary skills sometimes. But yeah, so great if you have good reading comprehension abilities. Obviously I don't have the greatest speaking ability right now because I'm trying to do this off the cuff and trying to think of interesting things to say to try to make you enthusiastic about a game that I'm enthusiastic about. But it's kind of tough because, it's me. If you watch my channel for a long time, I'm all over the place. But yeah, there's all these little story segments you can read. You can read about the story, you can read about the characters, you can read about the guns, the environments that you're in. There's like a lot of stuff. So it's not only story, there's little facts about the monsters and stuff. I'm reiterating myself, but basically it's a great game, and I hope to see future installments of this series because I think they're on the right track. So number 5 is Doom. I love it. Definitely check it out. And if you don't have good reading comprehension skills, you can still play the game. You won't know why everything's happening. So I'm not picking on you if you don't know how to read. But thank you for somehow finding my channel with not being able to read. I must make really good thumbnails. Doom, number 5. For number 4, I picked Life is Strange. A lot of people aren't going to play this game because I guess it's intimidating if you're used to playing the average game that involves action or a male protagonist or whatever. Seeing a game with a girl that's going to a special private school isn't going to be everybody's thing, and that's how it comes off, but that's not what it's about. The thing that sucks about it is I can't really tell you what it's about because part of what makes this game so amazing is finding out what the game's really about. And this is probably the darkest game on this list, which is saying a lot because I just covered Doom, if that gives you any inclination about how dark this game might get. But I can't tell you about this. What I can tell you, it's an awesome adventure game. You care very much about the characters. You actually start to remember the characters' names, which is saying a lot. Because I live in a world where I wish everybody would wear name tags because I can't remember people's names worth a shit. I always have to be like, oh, that's the one person with the lazy eye, which really sounds messed up because they're like, you know what my name is? And I'd be like, yeah, you're the person with the lazy eye. But my name, I don't know what your name is. See, I suck at names. That's why I wish everybody would wear name tags. When I worked in retail, it was amazing. People had name tags. I'd be like, yo, Chuck, yo, Lisa, I need help with this, Super easy because name tags. So the fact that these characters were memorable enough where I could remember their names and facts about them and all this stuff is great. The writing is awesome. I love the art style. If you can still find the special edition, I would highly recommend getting that because it comes with a fantastic art book. And the art in this game, so much work went into this small little title. This is made by the people who made Remember Me, which wasn't the greatest action game, but had an interesting story and an interesting atmosphere, and I think they went the right route with Life is Strange, which basically focused more on the story and the art, and I think that's where their strengths are. Now they're coming out with this game called Vampire, but it's spelled with a Y, so you might pronounce it Vampire. I don't know how they want you to pronounce it, but you can say Vampire when it's spelled that way too. But I've just watched videos of it. I've never heard Don't Nod, which is, I believe, the way you say the developer's name, talk about the game, so I don't know how they pronounce it, but it's very story driven. You really like the characters. it does start off in a private school, and it looks like a high school drama like Degrassi or a shitty episode of Dawson's Creek. But like I said, it gets super dark. You get out of the school, you start to know your local area. It's like, and then it gets dark, and Max, who's the main character, has like a kind of like a butterfly effect gift. If you ever saw that movie, The Butterfly Effect, with I can see the guy that was on the show Punked. I can't really think of it because I can't stand the dude. But if you ever watched the movie Butterfly Effect, she can actually go backwards in time and stuff like that, or pick up photos and stuff like that, and go through time. That's about all I can say, and manipulate things and change things and stuff like that. And there's consequences of it because of the butterfly effect, which basically means like with every small change there's like a domino effect of other changes and stuff like that, and you basically start to see how you're affecting everything. And it's like a telltale game where your decisions actually do have impacts, and your game experience will vary based on the choices that you make. And it's an amazing game. It has amazing art style. Max actually writes in her journal, and there's little doodles and stickers and stuff like that. By the way, the guy in the butterfly effects name's Ashton Kutcher, I believe, or Kutcher. I don't know. I think my sister had a crush on him back in the day. That's all I remember. I only saw part of the butterfly effect because it kind of looked like a bad movie, and I couldn't sit through much of it. But I know of the butterfly effect. But it reminds me a lot in tone of Donnie Darko, except somewhat darker than that. But that was a pretty dark end to a movie too. I actually really like that movie a lot. Ashton Kutcher was not in that movie, but it did have Jake Gyllenhaal, but also had Maggie Gyllenhaal that played that kind of crazy secretary in the movie. Wasn't even the movie called Secretary? I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that film. But anyway, yeah, Life is Strange is an awesome game, and if you like adventure games, if you're put off by the theme, I mean, I can't sell you on it. All I can tell you is it's not what it seems, and if you give it a chance, you might be pleasantly surprised. I put it on this list for a reason. It's one of the best stories that I've experienced this year playing a game. Can't say enough good stuff about it. Number 4, Life is Strange. If you haven't already, I'm not forcing you to, because I know it might not be everybody's thing, but looks can be deceiving, and it might not be what it looks to be about, but I can't tell you anything about it because that's part of the game. It's kind of a catch-22 for me trying to cover this. I can't even go that far into the game when I'm showing you clips to even show you anything. But anyway, Life is Strange, number 4. I'm rambling. Let's go to number 3.
Clearly I'm rich as fuck. How much do I have?
86 cents.
That's right, living large in Arcadia Bay. Amazeballs. I literally just got chills all over my neck. You have powers.
I'll take that crap off the table, Chloe.
For number 3, I chose Rise of the Tomb Raider. If you played the Tomb Raider reboot, you kind of know exactly what to expect. If you played Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, this on PlayStation 4 at least, this doesn't run at 60 frames per second, but with the PlayStation Pro, it's unlocked. There's actually 3 different modes. There's one that runs in 4K. There's an unlocked frame rate that actually can go up to 60 frames per second. And then there's a added detail mode. I don't know what they term it, but yeah, so from what I heard, this is the game to get if you want to test out your PlayStation Pro. I figured I'd throw that out there as an extra perk, but the game on its own, it's fantastic. It's just like the first Tomb Raider reboot, which was amazing, and basically it's more of the same, which really, in my opinion, all you really need, just add another story. It's like Indiana Jones, you have Indiana Jones and he goes on a new adventure and experiences new things, but at the same time it's still Indiana Jones. He still has a whip and he still has a gun. It's still kind of like Tomb Raider. There's some different weapons and stuff like that, and different ways to like gather supplies and stuff, but it's very, very light, and you don't use it in the game that much. Like, there's stuff that you gather for survival and things like that, and you can actually get supplies and stuff and actually craft things, but the crafting system is very, very light, and you don't use it that often, especially when you gain the ability to retrieve things. This game is a little bit more puzzle heavy, but not by much. Nothing that you wouldn't experience in an Uncharted game. It just has a little bit more puzzles, I feel like, and they're a little bit more complicated than maybe the first Tomb Raider, but nothing that's gonna stump you. It's not like the old Tomb Raider games. And I played this game originally on the Xbox 360. It was on my top games of last year's list, and this is a prettier version. If you have the Xbox One version already, there's no reason to get this, but you should have that version if you don't have it already, and you probably can get that version cheap. And if you don't have a new console, the one on Xbox 360 is actually a really good port. Now playing the next gen version, or the current gen version and the last gen version, the gameplay is there, but this is like a prettier version. This also on PlayStation 4 is the one I'm referring to, the 20th year edition, or whatever it's called. Said that twice. I stuttered. How about that? Actually didn't stutter. I just said the same thing twice. But here I am correcting myself instead of moving on. But anyway, yeah, so it has all the DLC from the last games. The graphics are slightly better, but unless you're comparing it side to side, you're really not gonna notice a difference between the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and of course the PlayStation 4 support. Obviously the PC version probably looks the best. I don't play PC games, and I imagine if I tried to run it on the ultra settings on PC, my PC would probably smoke. But yeah, it's an awesome game. No matter how you play it, I highly recommend it. The story is engaging. Laura is an awesome character. She appears very human. She gets her ass handed to her on several occasions, and she shows it with all the cuts, scrapes, bruises. By the end of the adventure, you almost feel like you're feeling her pain, because she looks like shit towards the end with everything that she's gone through. And I really like that with the newer adventure games, where they kind of take on the kind of idea, like kind of like on, again, I'll bring up Indiana Jones, where by the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, his clothes are like all fucked up. He's got cuts and everything. Like, you can tell he's been on an adventure. When you're done playing this game, you feel like you went on the adventure too. It's an amazing game. It's fun. It's beautiful. It's exactly what I wanted in a Tomb Raider sequel, and I imagine whoever enjoyed the last Tomb Raider game would want the same thing as well. I can't see you having buyer's remorse getting this. It's an excellent game, no matter what system you play it on. So there's not much left to say, except it's a great action platformer with puzzles, and I think it's fantastic. And I think if you consider yourself someone who enjoys a good game from now and then, I was trying to avoid saying gamer, but fuck it. If you consider yourself a gamer, you should have this. Alright, or contemporary gamer. Sorry, retro gamers. Alright, let me get on to the next title before I ramble on even more, if that's somehow possible. Probably is, but I need to shut up right now. So for number 2, I picked Uncharted 4, A Thief's End for the PlayStation 4. And I chose this. It was really hard because I had trouble deciding whether to put Rise of the Tomb Raider as number 2 or Uncharted as number 2. Ultimately, I picked Uncharted 4 as number 2. I'm going to screw up these numbers at some point. Just because I spent so much time with Nathan Drake. There's more Tomb Raider games, but the way I look at Tomb Raider is that every iteration of Tomb Raider, it's been a completely different Lara Croft. If you get the 20-year anniversary version of Rise of the Tomb Raider on PlayStation 4, which I think is the only copy they're selling right now that comes with a few pages of art, you'll flip through it and you'll look at some of the older renderings of Lara Croft and how she carried herself and how she was portrayed and stuff like that, and it's completely different from the Lara Croft we know today in the newer games. So I kind of feel like the Tomb Raider that came out before Rise of the Tomb Raider, which was just called Tomb Raider, that's why I just said the Tomb Raider that came out, I feel like that's a different Lara Croft. So it's almost like a new character is being developed. So saying that, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, this is the technically the 5th if you played the PlayStation Vita game called the Golden Abyss, I believe. I actually have it. I never finished it. It's a good game, but it's not as good as the Naughty Dog ones, and I just never got to finish it. Something about the little analog sticks playing that particular game threw me off. I think it's better equipped for RPG type games, in my personal opinion. My humble opinion, that doesn't count for much. But hopefully you're watching this and it does. But yeah, so I played 3 Uncharted games with Nathan Drake and Sully, and saw their characters' growth, and it was cool that you got to see Nathan Drake as a kid in 3, and there's a little bit more backstory with Uncharted 4, which Nathan Drake reunites with his brother, which you can see through these screens. It's not really a spoiler. That's fairly early in the game, and it basically tells you on the back of the fucking box and on the commercial, so I'm not ruining anything for you. By the way, this also supports the PlayStation Pro. I believe it has checkerboard, 4K, and HDR, which probably looks amazing. I don't know. I don't have a PlayStation 4 PlayStation 4 Pro at this recording of this video. If I get it, I'll tell you how amazing it is. Even though I don't have a 4K recorder, so you'd have to ask me, I guess. Anyway, off track. So basically, the reason why I picked Uncharted 4 over Tomb Raider, because they're essentially similar games with just a different story and a different goal. I will say Uncharted graphics are not mind-blowingly better, but there's a good good amount of detail that I think overshadows Rise of the Tomb Raider just a bit. I think Uncharted 4 is a better looking game, but it was made exclusively for the Sony platform. But I mean, both games look really good in their own right. Like Tomb Raider is kind of fuzzy and has a film grain feature, so it's a little bit softer. I don't know what it looks like on the PlayStation 4 Pro. Maybe it's super clear, but there's like film grain and stuff like that on Tomb Raider, whereas Uncharted 4 is a lot sharper and it just looks a little bit nicer. And just this being Nathan Drake's fourth adventure, and you figure out more about his life and his relationship with Elena and stuff like that. It's just like hanging out with old friends, and I think that's what makes it a little bit better than Rise of the Tomb Raider, and it has a graphical edge. I've not played the multiplayer on Uncharted 4. I can't comment on that. I never played the multiplayer in any of the Uncharted games. You might have this as number 3 if you didn't play the Nathan Drake collection, which I think that should be on this list or part of your list. If you haven't played the first 3 Uncharted games, definitely get the Nathan Drake Uncharted collection that has Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 remastered on the PlayStation 4, because you'll get so much more out of this game if you play that. Now, if you played all 3 of those games, I would definitely consider this number 2, but if you didn't play the first 3 games before Uncharted 4, maybe Rise of the Tomb Raider will be the game for you. You can't go wrong with either game. By itself, it's a fun game, but you just get so much more out of it if you know the backstory and the characters' relationships and everything that goes with it. Like, you worry about the characters more and about what they think. You kind of know how they think and stuff like that. And it just has more meaning when you've played the first 3 games first. But that's my personal opinion. The puzzles are pretty much the same. The AI is actually quite good. Now, if you do play the remastered versions of Uncharted, they actually run at 60 frames per second. So when you go back to this that runs at 30, you have to sort of get used to the half a frame input lag. You quickly get used to it, but it definitely feels different when you're used to playing at 60 frames per second. It's not a deal breaker, but I figured I'd throw that factoid in there. But Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, amazing game, a masterpiece. If they quit now, making the Uncharted games I think Naughty Dog's pretty much done with Uncharted, but if Sony decides to quit on Uncharted and not make another game, I think this is a great last game. But I seriously hope I get to see these characters again. They're absolutely fantastic. And like I said, if you don't have the Nathan Drake collection, I would definitely recommend it. I believe that was recommended last year on my Game of the Year list. It was a super long 2-hour video or close to it. I don't know. I'm hoping this one isn't that long. Anyway, yeah, Uncharted 4 is number 2. I don't have a drum roll person around here, and I can do this on the table, but it obviously sounds like I'm tapping on the table. If it didn't, I kind of feel bummed right now that I revealed that I was tapping on the table for a drum roll, because then I could have totally pulled it off. Of course, I could stop this and re-record it, but you know I'm too lazy for that. Anyway, number 1. What could it be? Actually, a lot of you will probably be disappointed, and I'm biased. It's the BioShock collection. And you know what? I wouldn't have expected me to have this as number 1 either if I hadn't gone back and replayed the collection. If you told me before the collection came out that the game that you were going to pick as your favorite games that you played so far towards the end of the year was going to be the BioShock collection, I would have thought that you were crazy, because I mean, I played plenty of remasters. What's the big deal? You know, I played the Uncharted collection last year. That wasn't number 1. Those games are absolutely fantastic. I just talked about it and how awesome it was. So why am I picking this? And it's one of those things that I really can't explain, except, and it's mostly because of BioShock Infinite. This comes with obviously BioShock 2, and BioShock Infinite. The only one I didn't have on PC was BioShock 2, and I had BioShock and BioShock Infinite on PC, so I could play the highest res version at 60 frames per second whenever I wanted to. And you know, this could be number 1 if it was just BioShock Infinite and the DLC that goes with it. This has all the DLC for the games, by the way, and I just remember putting the disc in and just being like, oh, I get to play this, some of my favorite games all over again. This will be fun, you know, to revisit it. You know, with the Batman Return to Arkham collection, it was the same deal. Oh, I get to play a nicer looking version of the games I already have. And this just looks like, but the BioShock collection just looks like the PC version. The textures are slightly upgraded, but I feel like you really have to squint. And if you're a PC owner and you just play on PC and you happen to have all the BioShock games and the DLC, you actually can upgrade the game for free, which is really cool. But as a console player, even though I had the PC version, because when I got my PC, I wanted to, when it was new, I wanted to see how good BioShock looked on PC, because I heard how awesome it was, you know. So I played it and I was like, oh yeah, this looks great and everything. But there's something about when I put it in, I can't explain it. You'll just have to take my word for it to be number 1. I played it, and I typically don't get emotional, like, over anything. I'm a pretty morose dude, I guess, as you might notice through my amazing commentary or whatever. Maybe it was bad timing or whatever, because it was like close to my birthday and I was kind of down in the dumps a little bit, getting older, and things didn't exactly go the way that I would have hoped they went by then. I don't know. That's a different story. This isn't about me. This is about games. But when you play BioShock Infinite and the doors open up and the light cascades into the little spaceship or wherever the hell you're in, that you go up to Columbia, I got teary-eyed, and it's just like, wow, I forgot how much love I had for this game. And then having Elizabeth and seeing everything that she went to, it was just playing the game at the right time or whatever. But out of all these games, it was the only game that I couldn't stop thinking about until I finished it, and I already played it once. So the fact that it was a game that and this is probably, let me think how many times I bought it. 1, 2, 3. This is like the 4th time I bought BioShock Infinite. The 3rd time I bought the original BioShock, and the 2nd time I bought BioShock 2. And the the first two are great games, but it's really with Infinite and the DLC that really got me. And the DLC connects to the first Bioshock. Bioshock 2 is kind of a side story, even though Bioshock 2 is technically a better game than Bioshock 1 is. It's like more refined and stuff like that. It looks a little bit nicer and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just fell in love with the game all over again, like I was playing it for the first time. And even though the graphics probably looked exactly as they did when I played it on the PC, maybe they looked even worse. In my mind, they looked better, and just running it at 60 frames per second. So I'm picking that as number one. If I can recommend this game and you get that same feeling and just sense of wonder and wanting to explore this world like I did, especially for the second time, a world that's so good and detailed and has such a unique art style that you want to explore it again as if you never explored it again, as if you never explored it ever, and do it for a second time. I mean, that's like the biggest compliment I can give to a game, is a game that feels new every time that you play it. And that's what Bioshock Infinite feels to me. And it's surprising when I hear that people don't like it as much as the first game, or even sometimes the second game. I don't know. Maybe it was when I played it. Maybe it's the nostalgic memories I have of playing the lower res PlayStation 3 version when I was living at my grandmother's house that sadly passed away around this time of year last year, which was December 2nd, but she started to get terminally ill actually on Thanksgiving Day, which was rough. But you know, it's just so much, and I just love the game. And I'm talking more about the third game than the other games, but it's an awesome game. I just love the art style. I can't say enough good things about it. I wish that since it was a remastered, they let you have the option to have modern controls from Bioshock Infinite and Bioshock 1 and 2, which they don't really let you do. There's no way to customize your controls in those games, which is kind of lame. I'm sure you can do it on PC, but unfortunately the consoles are kind of lame in that respect, because I absolutely dislike the control, and especially in the first Bioshock. It's better in Bioshock 2, but in the first one, to have to push in the analog stick to actually aim through the iron sights and stuff like that, it's like an easy fix they could have done, but I would have paid full price. I had coupons and stuff, so I practically got this game for nothing. But if I had the money and it was only the Bioshock Infinite collection and not any of the other Bioshocks, I would have got it. And the fact that it comes with 2 other games and it's not a downloadable code, you get 2 nice discs. By the way, Batman comes in 2 nice discs too, FYI. If you want to replay those games, but that's a different story. But yeah, like, it just really surprised me how much I really liked the game, and I didn't really realize it at the time. I knew I liked it, but when I played it again for the second time, and it felt like a new game over, it felt like a new game when I played it the second time. That's just amazing. There's really only a handful of games I can say that about. So Bioshock the collection, I'm being biased, but that's number 1. I hope you found something on this list that you might enjoy, or maybe that you think somebody else will enjoy. I know it doesn't have the most conventional choices compared to maybe what other people are picking. I know there's some popular games on this list as well that seem super cliche, but I try to mix it up. I try not to add all the little weird Japanese games, but as far as Bioshock the collection, I'm not lying, like, revisiting that game was like my favorite experience of gaming that I've had all this year, and I hope when I play it for a third time it feels just as awesome. Anyway, Bioshock the collection, number 1, Now back to the live feed of me. It's not really live, it's live action feed of me rambling. I wonder what the hell I'm gonna say.
Prophet, Father Comstock, we recommit through sacrifice and the giving of thanks, and by submerging ourselves in the sweet waters of baptism. And lo, is it someone new? Someone from the Sodom below, newly come to Columbia to be washed clean before our prophet, our founders, and our Lord?
I just need passage into the city.
Passage to the city. Brother, the only way to Columbia is through rebirth in the sweet waters of baptism. Will you be cleansed, brother?
Hey.
I baptize you in the name of our prophet, in the name of our founders, and the name of our Lord. In the bosom of Columbia. I don't know, brothers and sisters, but this one doesn't look clean to me.
Who's there? Who's there?
Bring us the curve and wipe away the debt.
What do you want?
We had a deal to wet. Open this door right now.
Hey, welcome back. Hopefully that list wasn't too terrible. You might not agree with everything on the list, but keep this in mind. That's the ones that I liked to the ones that I liked the most. It might not necessarily be in that order, and there might be some games on that list that you don't care for. I think they're all great games, otherwise they wouldn't be on the list. But they're games that I've played and I've experienced, and I can tell you that in my opinion, they're my favorite games that I've played this year. But I'll list some honorable mentions based on the little bit of time I spent with them, whether it's a few hours or maybe even an hour or so. I don't know. These are games that sometimes people throw on their list that they haven't even really played, and sometimes they have. I don't know. I don't want to be like one of those magazines that picks stuff to be on their list or rate a game and they barely ever finished it. That's why I was kind of trying to do this list early, and maybe it'll be helpful for the few people that watch my channel. But here's some suggestions that I've played some time with that hopefully. I'm looking at my phone if you're wondering why I'm looking down. I'm not looking at my crotch or anything like that, if that's what you were thinking. Anyway, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, I believe that's the title. I wrote it down and I still might have did it wrong. I always get the second one and the first one confused, even though that's actually the third one and the newest one's the fourth one. It's confusing. But whatever the newest Deus Ex game came out, that one's really good. I spent about 4 or 5 hours playing that and I like it so far. There's just so many games, and even though some of the games on my list came out late this year, right before I did this video, I was able to finish them in time. These are longer games, but based on what I play, I think it's really good. Played of these games, I think it's really good, and I think that Deus Ex Mankind Divided is a great stealth game, an action game if you choose to level up your characters. I said because I was about to say that some people say, oh, it's just a stealth game, I was expecting action. Well, just like any game that you level up your character, and you have to level up your character to be an action-oriented character, and you can play it like an action game. Though it's not Call of Duty, so it's not going to play as fluid as Call of Duty or Battlefield. It's still a great game from what I've played so far. If you want to play Russian Roulette with these games, I highly suggest you go and pick them out if you didn't like the games on my list. I think that these games might be on my list maybe next year or whatever, because that's probably when I'm going to be able to finish them, unless a shitload of good games come out next year, which is a high possibility, unless Mass Effect gets laid 200 million times, which is also a possibility. Dishonored 2 seemed really cool. It seems a lot like the first one, except with more verticality. It's more involved. You play 2 different characters, so you can play the game twice. Seems really cool. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition. It's everything on a disc. It's not like that EA bullshit where you get like a little DLC slip of paper with a code on it. This is everything on disc. It's already a great game by itself, and then it's all the DLC, and you probably, after Black Friday or whatnot, you probably can find it for $40 or lower. Everybody said great things. Not everybody. There's probably one special case, but most people that like the fantasy action RPG type games tend to like these games. I personally think it's great. It's a very mature fantasy based game, so don't get it for your 9-year-old kid unless you think your 9-year-old kid's really mature. I'm not trying to tell you how to parent, but I kind of am. But anyway, great deal. All the DLC on the disc. Can't really go wrong if you like those types of games. Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call, that's an older game. It came out last year. I really like Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy. It's a 3DS game, and basically it's like a rhythm game that you tap the screen based on the music. Final Fantasy is infamous for its music, and it's just my favorite game on the go when I play the 3DS. It's very pick up and play, and it's more of the original, which was the same type of game, except it just has way more songs on it, and I think it's great for a pick up and play game if you're in the waiting room or you're at the relative's house. I mean, it'd be a great game for Christmas Eve if you get dragged along to Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving parties or New Year's parties. You absolutely hate the people. Pop in Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call and you'll be set. I love it. It's pick up and play, not very involved, and I really like it. I wanted to at least add one portable game. There you go. Mafia 3. A lot of people are complaining about it being repetitive. I don't know a lot of sandbox games that aren't. There's not enough pedestrians. That's a complaint I also heard with Watch Dogs 2, which is also on this list. I really like the first Watch Dogs. And Watch Dogs 2 looks absolutely beautiful. The San Francisco setting, and even though Louisiana isn't a place I would personally like to visit, Mafia 3 looks beautiful as well, and it covers a very involved time as far as history goes, and I love the Mafia games, and it's more story driven. It's not about trying to do every single little side mission ever like GTA is, and I guess because it's an open world it's being compared to GTA a lot, and it's not really a sandbox game as far as that goes. I think they just built a city that feels real around this story, and some people don't feel like it feels real because there's just a lot of empty buildings or whatever. But my personal opinion from what I've played so far, it's great if you want to play it for the gunplay and the story, and if you feel like that's repetitive, you should really think back and look back at all the other games that you played. Wolf Among Us, I just finished that recently. I just didn't have enough room to put it on the list. I picked Life is Strange instead, but it's the same type of game. If you're not into the theme of Life is Strange, maybe you would be into Wolf Among Us, which you're a sheriff in modern day New York City where people go to a witch that are part of the... If I explain it to you, it's going to sound weird and probably make you not want to play it, so I'm going to explain it to you so you're not going to want to play it. But anyway, it's based on the Fable series by Vertigo Comics, which is actually published by DC. And if you're into comics, definitely check out DC's Vertigo line. They're actually my favorite comic books to check out. Like, I like them more than what DC currently puts out. If you're not familiar with comics, DC publishes Superman Batman, Wonder Woman, etc., etc. You probably already knew that though. But they have a more mature line like Vertigo, which I believe they also published the Sandman series, which you might have heard of because it's pretty popular. But anyway, they're like fairy tale characters that are in real life. They're in disguise, and you play the big bad wolf, which is the sheriff that kind of keeps everybody in line. And you're part of this whole murder mystery thing. And there's a lot of LA noir with the elements from The Walking Dead. It's a Telltale game, and it's amazing. And if I had enough room, I would have added it to my list. World of Final Fantasy. It goes back to the roots of the old battle systems of the old Final Fantasy games. It's really fan service. If you're not a fan of these games, it's not going to win you over. And it mixes elements from Pokemon. So if you like Pokemon and Final Fantasy, they're together at last because it shares a lot of themes with Pokemon, where you collect monsters and then use them to help you in fights and stuff like that. Really cool. I like the little art style. It almost looks like clay animation, but I only suggest it if you're a fan of Final Fantasy. Otherwise, it's going to go over your head and you're probably going to vomit from like all of the forced, like, cute and cuddly looking characters or whatever. And I'm a grown ass man, and sometimes I'm just like, ugh. But you know, it's Final Fantasy, and it plays a lot of themes that you'll remember. And even though they're like cuter versions of like the things that you might have played back on the day on PlayStation, it's just really cool to revisit those characters and no matter what form they're in. But it's more of a game that's fun based on the gameplay than the actual storyline, if you ask me. But I haven't played enough of it like many of these games, and I just have a feeling I'm going to really like that game. Batman Return to Arkham, a lot of people complaining about this. Some people feel like it doesn't look as good as the original Arkham's on PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. The PC version is give or take because it runs on Unreal 3. The new Return to Arkham's game runs on the Unreal Engine 4, so it has more of a vibrant neon like color effect. The textures are improved. I don't know what the fuck everybody else is talking about. The frame rate's a little bit uneven. I have a feeling that they're gonna fix that, but it's definitely not playable by any means. The frame rate was uneven sometimes on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. The only system you're going to get 60 frames per second is on the PC. I'm not a big PC gamer, and most of the games that I've picked are on Sony systems. Not that I have anything against Xbox. If somebody wants to donate me an Xbox One, feel free. But I had to pick a system, and I picked the PlayStation 4 because, I don't know, they just have more of the games I want to play. But if I had an Xbox One, I'd really love to play like the Rare Replay, Gears of War 4, the Master Chief Collection, Halo 5. But I could pretty much count every game I wanted to play that's exclusive to the Xbox One. I really couldn't tell you on the PlayStation 4. So when I weighed up the exclusives, that's what made me decide. But I think that Return to Arkham looks great, and it's a nice way if you wanted to experience the games for the first time and you're not a PC gamer like myself. Not that there's anything wrong with the PC gamer. Like, to me, just consoles are comforting. And I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I have this camera that looks like some sort of Android. It's shining a light right in my face. I can barely see, and I'm not used to recording myself. And also, you could probably get it dirt cheap. Homefront: The Revolution. I didn't really care for this game when it first came out, but they patched the shit out of it. I don't have a PlayStation 4 Pro, but I'm hoping that they're smart enough if they're making all these patches. They add PlayStation 4 support, because it has the potential of being a really nice looking game. They actually cut back the graphics a little bit on the last patch so it would run smooth, but now that they fixed everything on the game, it's actually a really fun game. You just can't play it like the original Homefront because it's not a Call of Duty type game. You gotta play it more stealthy and use guerrilla warfare tactics, but once I got into it, once it was fixed and the frame rate stable and the game's like super affordable now, I would recommend to play it now if you were curious about what the game was like. But anyway, I hope you guys, I'll probably make a video. I'll probably make a few videos after this, no promises, because I didn't even know if this video would get done. But I hope you guys have a happy holiday or happy time on your own, or whatever you do during the time that the holidays occur. Right now we're having Thanksgiving, so I'm sure there's going to be videos up before the end of the year. This is more, I was trying to get this out before Black Friday, where I don't know if you guys have something similar where you live if you're not in the United States, but Black Friday is the day after our Thanksgiving, which I'm recording this on Saturday. It's not going to be out on Saturday, but it's the day after Thanksgiving, so it'll be on Friday. Thanksgiving's Thursday, hence Black Friday. And it's when the stores open up at midnight and people run around with butcher knives and stab each other over Cabbage Patch dolls and cheap consoles and TVs. It's exciting. But I wanted to get this out before people started going holiday shopping and stuff like that. So you can use this list as a reference for games you want to buy. You can do whatever you want. Why am I having to come up with ideas? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry I'm so awkward like I always am. I wish I wasn't. Maybe my channel would have a voice if I wasn't so awkward, but that's another story. I'm not trying to make you feel bad or anything. But thank you so much for all of those who support the channel by just watching it and commenting. It means a lot. I hope whatever you do, it's awesome and fun, and I hope that if you do happen to play games, you enjoy them if you pick something off of this list, or if you don't, I hope you enjoy your games. And I hope if you're somebody who doesn't play games and for whatever weird chance, like by serendipity, you happen to come across this channel and use this as a guide, I hope whoever you're shopping for likes what they picked out, because I'd feel terrible if I got a message saying, oh, I got my son this game, he said it was cool and he absolutely hated it and he lit it on fire and threw it at me while it was on fire. I don't want to be responsible for that, and I apologize ahead of time. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you on the next video. Probably not this awkward, I hope. Anyway, cue the cat.
If you want to, like, comment, and subscribe! Thanks for watching!